Hello, and welcome to our show, Crooked Doctors. Today is Friday, Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th, people.
And this is William Dorrity, who's going to be my semi-regular guest until his court case in Jersey City comes up.
I am.
Thank you so much for coming
Oh,
down.
anytime, Lydia. We're glad to do business with you.
Bill is literally making history, and I'm going to show your attorney. I talked to
Vincent said he.
I actually didn't get the chance to talk to him, but I got an email from him today, so I want to show his business card.
Sure.
This is Mr. Vince Ansetti, and Mr. Vince Ansetti is your attorney in
Yes.
Jersey City, and he's going to be coming into the studio because he wants to discuss the 4 very important points in your case.
He does.
So if you happen to be, we've got people listening to us over the internet because we stream live over the internet. And this is Mr. Vince Ansetti. He's very confident that you're going to win your case.
He is.
Your big bad landlord is taking you to court to try to evict you.
Of course.
And the stupid reason he came up with was that
I'm letting tenants into the building, and somehow or other, it's my responsibility. The tenant's responsibility to keep strangers out of the building. Now, Vince disputes this. He says it's the landlord's responsibility.
So you understand that I'm being persecuted from my. I'm going to bring this all together.
Sure.
But I'm being persecuted by Crooked Doctors from the Albert Einstein College of Medicine of Yeshiva University.
Yes, you are.
And a lot of the issues in my case started being driven out into the open in a landlord-tenant case. So while I was in Jersey, I asked the attorney who was handling my case for me to start presenting evidence wherein I'd won against my landlords 3 times.
You did.
I'd won a judgment against them for over $1,000.
Yes.
I'd won a monthly credit for like $18 from them.
Exactly.
And one of the things I said to Lawrence Sidoni, who, by the way, I talked to other people who handled their cases, who were very unhappy with Lawrence Sidoni. But I asked Lawrence Sidoni for legal fees. I said, if I had, my medical school is persecuting me. The federal student loan fraud came out in my landlord-tenant case.
Okay.
Judge Falcone knew about it.
Yes.
Judge Fast knew about it.
Yes.
Rupert in the mediator for the court knew about it.
That's right.
You know Rupert, right?
Yes, yes.
Judge Rodriguez knew about it.
Yes.
Judge Morena knew about it.
Mm-hmm.
Judge Frank Babcock knew about it. And Judge Ray Velasquez knew.
Mm-hmm.
So lots of people in Jersey knew, and the Hudson County prosecutor.
It sure did.
Ed
DeFazio.
And I'm going to play my testimony against
Yes,
Ed DeFazio.
by all means.
So while all of this was being driven out in landlord-tenant court in 2008, and the reason why was because if I had a job, I'd be harassed at my job. My medical school wants me to shut up. So if I had a job, I'd be harassed at my job. If I had an apartment, I'd be harassed at my apartment. My medical school can't tolerate the truth.
Yes.
And they put me in jail for a year because they thought if I got beaten up in jail and persecuted, that would shut me up, and
Yes.
it didn't work. In 2008, because I was explaining, look, I'd like to move. I'm not trying to give my landlord a hard time, but my medical school has forced the Albert Einstein College of Medicine of Yeshiva University, the evil in our neighborhood. This is on the Upper West Side, West 188th Street and Broadway. West 181st Street and Broadway, Yeshiva University. They falsified my financial records, my educational records, my medical records. And other students were calling me and building their cases on mine, which I can show from all the irrefutable evidence I have right here. So as I'm in landlord-tenant case court in 2008, my financial records are coming to the fore.
Sure.
And a lot of this is coming out during my landlord-tenant case. And I asked Lawrence Sidoni, I said, as long as I'm going to win, because the facts and the law support me, could you please ask for attorney's fees?
Yes.
And Lawrence Sidoni did everything he could to lose my case. So now Bill Dorrity is going to pick up where I left off.
That's right.
And his landlord is picking on you for stupid reasons.
Yes.
And in New York, if you win against your landlord, there is a law. It's called Real Property Law, Section 234, that says when you win against your landlord, you can ask for your landlord to pay your attorney's fees. And that's a huge protective value. But here in Jersey, we don't have such a law.
That's right. And Senator Stack currently has a bill in the state legislature asking for landlord's fees for the tenants.
Thanks to Matt Shapiro and Eric Martindale and me and you, because we started driving this thing forward.
And Vince Ansetti, my lawyer, for
and Vince Ansetti. And the tenants in Newark.
Yes.
And
Eric Martindale.
And City Council member Darren S. Sharif.
Darren S. Sharif.
And Sam August. And so in 2008, by contract, I could have made law because I said to Mr. Lawrence Sidoni, please put in my final submissions to Judge Fast, include real property law from New York State, Section 234, which says that when I win against my landlords, I can request attorney's fees. And Mr. Sidoni deliberately, maliciously, intentionally did not put in real property law from New York. And the reason he did that was because so it'd be a great big hole in my case, and Judge Fast could say, well, you cite to no authority. Well, you know, New Jersey had no law. New York has a law. It's real property law, Section 234, and it says that if you win against your landlord, if your landlord brings in any actions that you're involved with your landlord, if you win against your landlord, and it says it in your lease that your landlord can get attorney's fees from you, then there's the principle of reciprocity and unconscionability, and you can also ask for your landlord to pay your attorney's fees.
Well, we don't have that in New Jersey because we have boilerplate in every landlord's lease, which says the landlord could get attorney's fees, but not the tenant. So Senator Stack is currently correcting that misapprehension.
And that's unfair. And it violates the principle of unconscionability in contract law.
Level the playing field.
Because you don't draft contracts where one party has all the benefits and the other party has no benefits.
Now, how they were getting away with this so long in New Jersey, where the landlord can collect but the tenant can't, I suppose it's never been challenged before. This is the first time in this court that this will be challenged.
You know, that's excellent, because I was asking myself that same question. How is it possible that in the state of New Jersey for decades there are when you say boilerplate, what you mean is that in every lease there's a provision that says
landlord can get attorney's fees, but there's no such provision for the tenant. Now, how is this possible for so many years to lay low like this?
That's what I asked. So when my landlord Ralph Pagnosi kept harassing me with these frivolous evictions, I kept saying, you know what this is? This is just to milk me for money for attorney's fees, to drive me out of my apartment. It's not fair. There's got to be a law in New York. So I go to New York. Guess what I find? Real property law, Section 234. I theorize that it must exist. And I'll tell you exactly how this happened. I have a degree from Columbia University.
Yes, I know.
In biological sciences.
Okay.
Now, in biological sciences, there's we know that there's a hormone. I'm making an analogy.
Yes, go ahead.
There's a hormone that speeds up the heart. Okay. So we're all sitting around studying, you know, the biological sciences. If there's a hormone that speeds up the heart, there must be a hormone to slow down the heart.
Sure.
It must exist, right?
Absolutely.
But they didn't find it and figure out what it did. What they knew was they had already known of a hormone that speeds up the heart, and they theorized that there must be a hormone to slow it, because you just can't always speed up the heart, otherwise you'd explode. So if you're going to speed it up, there has to be another hormone to slow down the heart.
Okay.
They theorized that it must exist, and then they went out and found it.
Sure.
So there I am in Jersey, and I've been going through these frivolous evictions for like a year, and I'm sitting there thinking, you know, there's something really wrong, because if my landlords win against me, in my lease it says I have to pay their attorney's fees.
Sure.
Now I'm aware in contract law, because this was an issue, the reason I got expelled from medical school was I refused to sign an illegal contract. So I'm like, there's something really wrong, because I'm aware that there's some basic principles in contract law. So it can't possibly be that all the benefits go to my landlord and not to me. So I'm sitting there thinking there has to exist a law that says the tenant, if she's successful against her landlords, could ask to have her attorney's fees paid. But I didn't know that this law existed.
We feel that we now have illegal leases in the state of New Jersey. This is also being brought to the fore, not only with my court case, but also with Senator Stack's bill.
Yes. So this is back in 2008 as I'm going into this trial. And this is good because we're working together as a team.
We are.
And I'm theorizing, just to go back in history a little bit, I'm theorizing that there must be a law that says tenants get attorney's fees too. Where would I find such a law? I'd have to go to one of the most litigious states that I could think of,
which is
New York.
Right.
So I come to New York and I go to the law library in New York, and I'm looking at the law library in New York, and I'm doing the searches, and I'm like, look, real property law section 234 exists, and it's written the same way one would think about it if you had basic common sense, which is if your landlord has a contract, and this contract, which is a lease, says if you, the bad tenant, do something wrong, and I, the landlord, have to take you to court, and I win, I can say, listen, this is not fair to me. I need to be made whole again. So you, the bad tenant, should pay my fees. Okay, so now I'm the landlord. I've been made whole. So now you're sitting there in the position of the tenant. You say, well, what if you're a big bad landlord?
Exactly.
And I have to take you to court, and I win.
Yeah.
Well, then the tenant should be able to ask for her fees to be paid.
Reciprocity, yes.
Exactly. And that's exactly how real property law section 234 is written. So I got the law, I photocopy it, I go back to my attorney, Mr. Lawrence Sidoni. We're going through this landlord-tenant case.
And what did he do?
And I said, here's the law, please include it because Judge Fast is going to need to see this. I'm in a landlord-tenant battle, and we went to trial, and it was not about non-payment of fees. I was challenging a proposed lease, and the proposed lease was unfair to me for a number of different reasons. And one of the reasons it was unfair was because my landlord could be able to collect attorney's fees, but I couldn't. And I said, that's not fair. So what Judge Fast is going to do is he's going to sit there and he's going to say, there's no law in New Jersey, but I'm saying to Judge Fast, but I can cite to the nearest state that would have this law, and reasonably that's New York. So I'm like, Mr. Sidoni, please give this law to Judge Fast so he can look at it and he can say, well, there's no law in New Jersey. However, you are citing to authority.
Exactly.
You are talking about landlord-tenant law in New York. Oh, I think we got a call.
Oh, call.
Let's see. Oh, no, it's... where am I? Hold it. Hold it. Hello? Oh, here we go. Hello?
Guess who? How you doing, darling?
Oh, hi, Ben. How are you?
I knew it was Ben.
Bill, how you doing?
Need some volume.
He said hello to you, too. Say hello. Oh, you know what?
Hey, Ben, how you doing? She's getting the volume for you.
Go ahead. Can we hear you better now?
Yeah, you're nice and calm today, not
Hold
like
on.
last week.
Where are you? Ben.
Yeah. Can't you hear me? Hello?
I'm here. Do you hear us?
Yeah, I'm here.
You know what? He's coming through my...
Headphone.
What?
The reason I got you through the... Whoa.
What?
The reason I got you through the headphones... Oh, no, here you are. You're coming through.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you pretty good. And he's coming up here. How are you?
Oh, that's fine. How are you?
I'm doing...
I was going to ask you, what's new, but I'm afraid to ask.
There's an open investigation. Ben just asked me what's new. There's an open investigation.
I mean, you can't hear me on the air? It's just on the headset?
No. I have you on my headphones so I can hear you without all the tinny stuff going through.
Yeah, but what about Bill? He can't hear me.
Can you hear him?
Yes, I can hear him here.
We can hear you through the headphones.
Can the people
I
hear
gotta
him?
say something.
Yeah, the people can hear him right there.
Right.
Bill looks like he's running for Congress.
Bill, are you running for Congress?
I don't know. I haven't considered it, Ben, but thank you
His
anyway.
tie is all made. He looks beautiful today.
You look beautiful today.
No,
Really?
thank you.
You didn't have a court appearance or anything, did you?
No, not yet. We don't have a court appearance yet.
No, we didn't get a court date.
Wow.
Not
Hey,
yet.
And the thing is, he looks so nice and neat, and you with that jail shirt.
I went to jail, and I am proud. I'm going to wear it like a badge of courage.
I mean,
like a badge of courage. Like a badge of courage. I'm going to go on public.
Badge of honor.
Badge of honor. I am going on public.
I'm just saying, just for credibility, you look like you just escaped from the jail.
A badge of courage.
Yes, indeed.
A badge of courage. I ordered a prison uniform, and I'm going to wear it every single day, especially in public speaking opportunities.
Sure.
Yes. From now on, when I go public speaking, I'm wearing my prison uniform like a badge of honor.
Let everybody
they're going to work
see
you over every time you go through some kind of security checkpoint.
Nah, actually, there's a risk assessment that's being done to see what kind of risk there is to me, because what I want to get to in this show is I testified against Ed DeFazio. And
I know, we know.
Oh, no, you got to hear my entire testimony. And I also was a lady.
Well, you know, as a matter of fact, I was going to talk to you about that, but go ahead, go on.
No, I got video of Ed DeFazio. Before I testified against him, I approached him and I said, listen, Mr. DeFazio, you know, before I testify against you, you know, he's like, how are you? I'm like, how do you think I am? I'm wearing a back brace. I'm wearing a knee brace. You know, I was physically assaulted, almost killed. He makes up all these stories. I'm like, Mr. DeFazio, you've had my falsified financial information in your hands since 2005. My entire case collapses down to one piece of paper. This is the amount of evidence that I gave a federal judge.
How many pages?
So what did he say?
Well, he's going to go through this, but you don't need this entire. Can you hold this?
How many pages are there?
This is the amount of evidence I gave
20 pages?
Are you kidding? There's like hundreds.
Hundreds of pages.
This is irrefutable documentary evidence, and you know what? My entire case collapsed down into one piece of paper.
Where's that one piece of paper?
Let's look at that one piece of paper.
So look at it now, people.
Okay.
So what did he say to you when you asked him that?
Who?
DeFazio, when you talked.
Oh, you're going to see it for yourself, but I'm going to change the camera view. Whoa. I'm getting all squeaky here. Hold it. Let me turn this down just a little. Yeah, we're still good. Hello?
Yeah, it's good. You know, with that curtain the way it is behind you, with the blue behind you, it looks like you're still in prison. With the red curtain behind Bill, he looks like he's talking to you from somewhere else.
Well, that's good. Here, I'm gonna change the camera view. Okay, my entire
pull
case.
The curtain. That's all. One way or the other.
My entire case collapses down to one document, and this is.
Yeah, describe it, Lydia.
This is the one document that my case collapses down to. This is a falsified promissory note.
Okay, go ahead.
And the reason why, wait, let me bring down the magnification a little bit. Hold it.
Got Vince's card up there, you know.
Yeah, I know. I got Vince's card up there. Here we go. This is what we're looking at right now. This is a falsified promissory note. And I discovered this 1 month after Judge Patterson ruled against me. Now, it's written right along here. I discovered this on June 20th, 2005.
How'd you do that?
Pardon me?
How did you discover it?
I had been making Freedom of Information Act requests, and there was an attorney. There were several attorneys in Albany that I'd been talking to, and I persuaded them to help me. And they're like, "Listen, make Freedom of Information Act requests." Now, so I've been making Freedom of Information Act requests, and the more I discovered, I figured.
That's not your signature at the bottom of that paper?
Yeah, but see, here's the problem with this. I'm going to show you right now. Whoop, hold on for just 1 second. Can you give me, hold on for just 1 second. Let me just fix this. Hold
I mean, if that wasn't your signature, you'd be in business.
No, you don't understand. See, this promissory note is on its face. You don't even have to know anything. You know that on
that
its...
That 18,000 looks phony, too.
No. You know that on its face, this thing is fraud, because what you notice down here, right down here where it's blank, okay, this is the lender information. Okay, so the lender information is blank. A student, by law, is never supposed to leave the Student Financial Aid Office or the Student Finance Office without having a completed promissory note. So as I discussed with law enforcement this week, on its face, and last week too, on its face, you know that there's something wrong with this promissory note because it's not a completed promissory note. Now, I discovered this right here, June 20th, 2005, and I got this from Sally Mae because there were attorneys that I got to volunteer who were helping me make Freedom of Information Act requests, and you can see right here, this was faxed on 06/20/05. So June 20th of 2005, it was faxed from Sally Mae. See, this is Sally Mae, the loan servicing corporation. So I discovered this intentionally falsified promise.
That was faxed to who?
It was faxed from the. It was faxed to me from Sally Mae. Sally Mae had this thing in its vault, the original, and I said I want to see it. So they faxed it, and when they faxed it to me about a month after Judge Patterson. Judge Robert P. Patterson Jr. had ruled against me in federal court. So I'm like, all the documents, all my arguments go right out the window. Who cares? Because this is newly discovered evidence. This I discovered after a huge effort on June 20th, 2005. So Judge Robert P. Patterson Jr. in the Southern District of New York had ruled against me about a month before. So about a month after Judge Fast had ruled against me, I discovered the intentionally falsified promissory note on or about June 20th, 2005. That gives me newly discovered evidence. So you don't have to understand all the details of my case, because right here...
So you're saying that bottom section was whited out and there was something there before?
No, this was... hold on just one second. Let me bring up the promissory note again. Here we go. This is the promissory note. Whoops. Right here. No, this was not whited out. This was never completed.
But you said you're not supposed to leave the office unless that's filled out, right?
Correct.
And you left the office with that thing not filled out?
No, they were refused to give this to me. That's why we were complaining.
So you left the office with nothing?
Correct. And what they do is...
Why'd they say they couldn't give you anything?
They don't. Like, I was...
You didn't know any better?
No. I was asking questions they refused to answer, which is also illegal. What they do is, and I ran this past another student who called me. There was another student who said, yeah, they call you down to the office, and what happens is you fill out Part A. This is Part A,
right,
which is the borrower section. So you fill out your name, your address. The part that's blacked out or redacted is 2 references, how much you want to borrow, you sign it and date it. Then they take this document away from you. That's illegal. And that's when they fill out Part B, which is the school information, and the school information is filled out. See right here, you can see.
They get that from the school.
This is the school information. And they fill this out without your knowledge or consent. They fill it out. You're not there when they fill out the school information. And the person who does this is Mr. Lloyd Greenberg, right here. Mr. Lloyd Greenberg, the student finance officer, the authorized school official. Now, that's not what's supposed to happen. So what they do is they bring you into the office.
It says to be completed by an authorized school official.
That's Mr. Lloyd Greenberg. And
so what's the problem?
He's supposed to fill it out in front of you. You're supposed to leave with a copy of this promissory note. There's 3 parts to this promissory note. So they bring you...
I understand that, but how... maybe they didn't have all those figures.
No. What's supposed to happen is you fill out Part A, then he fills out Part B. He puts in all this is his name and address, and they're supposed to check your enrollment status. See, this is where they got in trouble with me, because they falsely indicated right here on box 21 that during the 1995 to 1996 school year that I was a full-time student. See right over here where it says enrollment status full-time?
Right.
Okay, that's a lie. I was in a decelerated program, and what the decelerated program is defined by the school as not full-time.
Yeah, but they changed all of that, right?
No, they lied. It was lie after lie after lie. And I can go through some of those lies, but what was important was that on its face, you know that this promissory note is fraud, because the lender information is blank. And what happens is they bring you into the office, they sit you down, Mr. Lloyd Greenberg stands over you like a bully. He says, fill this out, put in your name, sign it here, and you're trying to ask questions. And he refuses to respond. Now, it's his responsibility by law to answer your questions. He doesn't. And when you ask him what's going on here, he's like, it's my job to get you to sign the note, sign the note, sign the note. I'm like, but I'm asking some questions about the rest of it. He's like, I'm not here here to answer your questions. I'm like, yes, you are. So then what he does is after he bullies you, and another student confirmed this. We were in Congressman Menendez's office. It was then Congressman Menendez, but now it's Senator Menendez. She's like, yeah, that's exactly what they do to you. He bullies you into signing the note, and then what happens is he takes the promissory note away from you, and you never see it again. And you're like, where's the...
Did you get the loan?
The school got the money, but I never got the classes. But you don't have to get into those details because what you're looking at right now is, see this lender information?
Yeah, what should be there?
The name of the bank.
Does a bank lend it to them or the school lends it?
No, they go through the bank. And the reason why this is significant is because it suggests what's not supposed to happen is that the school is not supposed to pick the bank. You, the student, are supposed to pick the bank. And what this suggests is that the school is bundling these loans. So what they're doing is, for example, and this is the theory that we're operating under, is that they're taking all 800 students at this school and they're going through one bank, and they're not supposed to do that, okay? What they're supposed to do, and I know because I double-checked through all kinds of authorities, including Columbia.
But they expected you to know what bank you wanted to use the day you filled this application
No,
out?
you're supposed to say, this is the bank that I want. No, they're supposed to counsel you. When you go, for example, to Columbia University and you fill out one of these forms, you ask them. I even asked them when I was a Columbia University student, what bank would you like me to use? They're like, we can't tell you. You pick the bank. It's illegal for us to tell. I was like, can you give me a short list of 3 to 5 banks? I don't even know who to go to. They're like, no, we can't even suggest a bank. You decide which bank you want, and that's the bank that we will go through. Okay, but Yeshiva University doesn't do that. So why is this lender information left blank?
Yeah, well, they went to the Shylock and the Temple to get the loan. That's why.
Well, you know what? It's here's the thing. I pay a fee to the bank. That's why I'm supposed to choose the bank. So when Yeshiva University leaves this blank, are they bundling, the question to be asked, are they bundling all these loans? Are they taking 800 students a year at this medical school, and they're taking all 800 applications and going to the bank, and the bank is collecting money? The bank is collecting a fee. So this is a nice little revenue source for the bank, and the question you have to be asked is, what's the sweetheart deal? What's the kickback? What does Yeshiva University get for bundling all its loans and going through one bank and creating a revenue source for this bank? So
yeah, but I would be more concerned about you not getting the classes for the 18.5. Than the sweetheart deal that they're getting, you know.
Yeah, that's also...
I mean, you would think that if they get a sweetheart deal, maybe they pass the savings on to the students.
Well, they're not supposed to do that. That's illegal. So they're not supposed to fill out Part A of the promissory.
How do you know that they got the 18.5 to school? How do you know that?
Because they were paid to the bank.
You know that?
Yeah, of course. And this is why I'm fighting with Sally Mae, and I'm like, let me see the promissory note. And this is why I'm talking to attorneys. You know, this is going back in time a little bit. I'm talking to attorneys in Albany, and I want to talk. And I'm talking to the Higher Education Services Corp.
I don't understand how they could get the money if that bottom part wasn't filled out.
That's what I want to know. So when we started asking these questions, and I didn't.
Like, how do you know? You know, well, who do you pay the money back to if you don't know who the lender is?
Exactly. So I started asking all those questions. So what the bank does is it sells your note to Sally Mae, and you start paying back Sally Mae. So when I'm talking to Sally Mae, I'm like, look, something's not kosher is going on here, and Sally Mae refuses to answer my questions. That's illegal. See, this is Sally Mae Corporation. And let me tell you, when I started public speaking about this, other students started coming up to me from other schools saying they were fighting Sally Mae too. And I started talking to prosecutors down south, and they say, you know something? When educational centers like Kaplan Educational Centers, when commercial organizations falsify this information and do the same thing that the academic institutions do, they get away with it. But if you happen to be a commercial business school, you get prosecuted. So there's a double standard there. But the bottom line is, you know, I'm asking questions about this loan note. And finally, what's most important here is I only discovered this on June 20th, 2005. So Judge Patterson ruled against me in May of 2005. Well, this constitutes newly...
It's not his fault. He didn't have this paperwork.
Yes, but this constitutes newly discovered evidence.
Right.
So when I go back to Judge Patterson and the other judges and I say, look, I've got a 60B2 motion. This is what I'm showing now are the rules of federal procedure, the federal rules of civil procedure. So here, I'm showing this to Bill.
You want to make some appeal because you got new evidence. What's
right. No, well, what you do is this is the federal rules of civil procedure, and I'm gonna. Just 1 second, because this is getting a little too busy here. Let me close out of this. So this is the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, and I discussed this with a law enforcement official this week. I'm like, look, you don't have to understand all the details of my case. I even faxed this to a law enforcement.
Well, look, let's say they did fill out that bottom part. Mm-hmm. How would that affect what's going on with the thing with them now about the 18.5?
Well, right now it's
missing classes and
right now it's not 18.5. It's
let's say it said let's say it said Bank of America at the bottom. Then what?
Well, right now they're coming after me for $60,000 for classes I never took. But here's the deal: I found this. Judge Patterson ruled against me in May of 2005.
Don't they take attendance in these classes? Don't they?
Very good. Very good. If the school can't, thank you very much.
I mean, every fucking day I went to school in my entire life, they were calling out names one way or another.
That's right. If they can't prove that they gave me the classes, they can't charge for it. So where's my exams? Where are the quizzes?
Right. Where's your exams?
Where's the class attendance sheets? They can't. The whole thing's a lie. So, but the important point I was trying to make was I discovered this 1 month after Judge Fast ruled against me. Judge Patterson ruled against me. So I go to Judge Patterson, I go to the appeals judges, and I say, look, this is a 60B motion. This is relief from a judgment or order. And if you go over here, this is the rules of federal procedure. And if you go over here and you look, it's, oh my goodness, newly discovered evidence. Look at that.
All right. So how did he blow you off on this?
They refused to deal with it. Judge Patterson refuses to enforce the law. This is why I talked to a law enforcement official today, and I said, listen, I can go through all the wrong things that Judge Patterson did, but I don't have to. I can just show you a few examples. Here's 1 or 2 examples that said, this is grounds for relief. I have newly discovered evidence. And what the appeals judges should have done is said, okay, she gets to submit an amended complaint based on newly discovered evidence. Okay, so this is a 60B2 motion.
7 years ago.
Yeah, and Judge Patterson in the Southern District of New York refused to uphold the law, and so did 3 appeals judges. But beyond that, I also win because of fraud. And what's the fraud? Well, they use these busy terms because they say whether it's intrinsic or extrinsic or misconduct by an opposing party. Well, I have misconduct. I have the school's attorneys, Dan Rizal, who committed perjury. So, for lots of different reasons, I should have won my case, or I should have been allowed to put in an amended complaint. This is pretty easy to understand, right? This is not hard. You get it, right?
Yeah, I understand it, but you see, what you're dealing with is you're trying to live in a perfect world.
This is not a perfect world.
It's worse than the worst non-perfect world in the whole world. I mean, things are just terrible normally. And in your world, this guy is saying to himself, Patterson's saying, come on, now I gotta overturn my decision. I gotta get involved in paperwork for this. And okay, so what? Okay, so maybe she's right. Then what? That opens up another can of worms.
Yeah.
I'm going to have more lawyers against me. More judges are going to hate me. All this churning, another $120,000 worth of court's time and expense just because they didn't fill out those 2 lines at the bottom of the paper.
No.
But in a perfect world, great, that would get fixed. But now 7 years later, the chances you're getting any justice on this,
Judge.
As a matter of fact, I don't even understand. They call that thing the Albert Einstein School of Medicine.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't a medical doctor, was he, Einstein? Was Albert Einstein a medical doctor?
No, he wasn't.
So then why do they call him a school of medicine?
Well, they were trying to they were trying to use his name to.
Well, obviously, but doesn't anybody question something like this?
I'm sure that the Einstein family is very, very upset. And there's something else I want to show you too.
And they used his name without getting the approval from the Einsteins?
No, I'm sure they got his approval. But let me show you something else. But I'm sure they're going to be very upset when they. This is something I showed Bill.
No, you also said, Bill, you're gonna have Bill as your host there until his case is over.
Yeah.
Then what are you gonna do after that? You're gonna dump him? What are you?
No, Bill he'll get his attorney's fees. He'll win, and he won't need publicity anymore.
He'll be calling that the Dorrity decision. It'll be like the Miranda rights, you know?
You know, the way things are named, what will really happen is the decision will be named at probably after the plaintiff, so probably it'll make his landlord famous. But I want to read this to you. You see it on screen right now. This was one of the reasons why I was it was important to get rid of me. This is from the Dr. Garg case. And in the Dr. Garg case, they have a pattern and a practice. Now I'm going to read this to you. Dr. Garg was a student who was illegally expelled, and I talked to him. He witnessed a medical malpractice. The school thought that he was going to be a witness. He wasn't, so they illegally expelled him, and they characterized him as psychotic and schizophrenic. He's not. He's a successful practicing physician in the United States with no mental defect or disease. And when he tried to go to a different school, what happened was he tried to transfer, and they screwed his transfer application, and then he had to go to a foreign country. But this is from his complaint. In particular, in or about October 1986, Defendant Cook, this is from the Albert Einstein College of Medicine, told an associate dean at Albany Medical College, this is where Dr. Garg was trying to transfer to save his career, that plaintiff, that's Dr. Garg, that plaintiff's dismissal from the Albert Einstein College of Medicine, that's ACOM, the Albert Einstein College of Medicine, has been caused by severe and continuing psychological problems. And they characterized him as psychotic and schizophrenic. He's not, he has never been. But you see the pattern and the practice there. As a result of Defendant Cook's statements, Albany Medical College discouraged plaintiffs' efforts to seek admission to that institution.
Sounds like he was a Scientologist.
To complete his MD requirements. But the most important thing about this is they called up Albany Medical College behind Dr. Garg's back, and they said that he had severe and continuing psychological problems.
Yeah, but didn't the AMA try to defend him? How could some college do things like this? I mean, isn't there a higher authority to say, well, screw you, this guy's all right, prove that this guy's crazy?
You know, there is, and that's why what I have in my hand...
You got the headphones, I mean, come on.
What I have here...
High-tech this week, come on.
What I have here, Ben, is all the letters that I wrote the school, and by the way, I wrote to all the complaining witnesses against me that lied to put me in prison. They were all on my promotions committee. They all had a retaliatory motive. All of these letters that were not provided, every one of these is an account of obstruction of justice. And Assistant District Attorney Alex Spiro knows that because he made a comment about these letters during trial, and the trial transcript was changed. But the bottom line is, all these letters that were not provided, and my attorney checked, and he said, yes, there are a lot of documents that were missing. That's called obstruction of justice. So yeah, and not only that, I wrote to the AMA, the American Medical Association. I wrote to Jackie Brooks, because I had worked for her at Senator Moynihan's office. I wrote to the Liaison Committee for Medical Education. I wrote to, and I had the American Medical Students Association come and send a monitor, and the Advocacy Committee. This is the foundation that shows at the Albert Einstein College of Medicine there is a pattern and a practice of denying students their civil rights. Nobody ever got a fair hearing. And it's horrific because what Mel Goldberg at the New York State Attorney General's office asked me was, Lydia, what about the policies at the other schools? And I went and checked. There has never been, and Ben Lawsky too. Ben Lawsky was a highly placed attorney at Andrew Cuomo's State Attorney General's office. Now that Andrew Cuomo is governor of New York, Ben Lawsky happens to be one of his advisors, and I called Ben Lawsky and got him on the phone when I was at Rikers Island, and that phone conversation is tape recorded, because all conversations from inmates out of Rikers Island are monitored and tape recorded.
Of course.
So when Ben Lawsky referred me to Mr. Mel Goldberg, who said, Lydia, I've been working on cases like yours for like 10 years, so I'm not surprised at what you've been through. And Mel Goldberg asked me, Lydia, what about the policies at all other medical schools? I did the legwork for free for Mel Goldberg for 3 days. I had a checklist in my hand. I ran it past volunteer attorneys, pro bono attorneys. I knew what to look for. I went to every single medical school. I checked their policies. There isn't one written, published, faculty-approved hearing procedure that fully comports with the spirit of the law that says a medical school student can be in the room to hear the arguments against her. It's unconscionable. Mount Sinai has the best policy, but it's still fatally flawed. And you know who has the worst policy?
What's that?
Columbia University, my alma mater. So I went to talk to President Lee Bollinger about this.
You know how many trees they had to cut down to print all those transcripts you have?
All of this obstruction, 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 plus I got witness tampering, I've got evidence tampering. But you know something, we've got about 20 minutes left, and I want to play.
I just want to ask Bill something, though.
Go ahead, ask away.
I mean, I got to go now because Mrs. Povanetti called.
What's up, Ben?
Oh, yeah, we got to get to Mrs. Povanetti.
She's throwing a rent party tonight.
Oh, wow.
So I'm going to go down there. Harriet's going to do the catering.
Oh, Harriet's doing the
I just want to
catering.
ask Bill
Evil Harriet Polinsky, we'll get to her.
She's evil.
I just wanted to ask you, Bill, who
She
ratted
hates
you
my
out
guts.
about holding that door for people in the building?
Oh, yeah. Now, Ben wants to know who's holding the door for the strangers coming in and out of the building. She's got an answer for you, Ben. I'll switch her over.
Who told the landlord about
There you
it,
go.
know?
Well, are you okay?
Yeah, fine.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Listen, I want to play my testimony from Ed DeFazio.
All right.
You're invited into my studio, Superfan, because
I know.
I think what you should do is you'll sit off camera and then you can make widescreen.
And anonymity, sure.
Yeah, that'd be great. We'd love
I don't
that.
go to the west side, no.
No. What do you mean you don't go to the west side? We're too declassé for you?
Tell Vincent said he's coming.
Yeah,
He's a lawyer,
Vince,
right?
Vince is coming. You love Vince. You should come here. So listen, let me hold on. I'm going to change the camera view. This is because we don't have a whole lot of time. This is the State Judiciary Committee, and you can listen to this for yourself.
Right ahead.
Right here is where you would. Whoops. Right here is where you would go to the State Judiciary Committee, and this is where I testified against Mr. DeFazio. And I also have videotape, which
that Senator Nia Gill, on that DeFazio tape, she says that all your stuff was unsubstantiated allegations.
Not true. And
one other thing you said about, one thing you have to look closely at was what. Do you remember what DeFazio said after they asked him to make a statement?
It was so stupid.
He said, "Listen to me. I hope you don't get arrested in Jersey and have to face this guy someday."
Well, that's
because what he said is, and I wrote it down to remember. He said these are exactly his words. The only thing he said was, when they said, DeFazio, do you have anything to say to her allegations? He said, patience is a very important quality for a judge.
Yeah, it's stupid.
He said, that's all I have to say. He said, that's all I have to say. So I'm telling you now, you better stay out of Jersey if you want to make some trouble.
That's why I went to law enforcement and I asked for protection for my life. But let's listen, and they're supposed to be doing a risk assessment, and that's why I'm public about this. And Ed DeFazio, I have right here, let's go back. I actually have, you know what, I'll play this next time. I have videotape.
You said he's not, as a matter of fact, in that testimony you said he's not a prosecutor.
He's a co-conspirator.
You said a co-conspirator.
And let's listen to me say that. Yes, it's a I'm gonna play it right now. And I have videotape. Where
he's not a prosecutor.
He's a co-conspirator. He is. And before I testified against him, I went and talked to Mr. DeFazio. I said, Mr. DeFazio, can I speak to you? I'm going to play that videotape next week, and I'm putting it up on the internet. But you know something? Let's listen to it now, okay?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. DeFazio. Senator Stack.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, members of the committee, I've known Prosecutor DeFazio for many, many years. He's done an excellent job as the prosecutor in Hudson County over 10 years. He comes with a wealth of knowledge. He's been a public servant his entire life, which is outstanding. He's got much experience, even some experience of being on the bench, and he'll make an excellent addition to the Hudson County Judiciary, and I ask all committee members to please support the nomination. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Stack. Any other comments or questions from Mr. DeFazio? Mr. DeFazio, I recall you being here over the years and appearing for your confirmation hearings as the prosecutor of Hudson County, and you do enjoy a stellar reputation up there. Seeing no questions, before we entertain the motion, Senator Stack, there is a sign-up, so we're going to have to take that testimony for a moment. Prosecutor, if you would excuse yourself to the front row, the sergeant will show you to a seat. I will call up the one individual from the public who signed up, Lydia Radin, from Jersey Reformers Citizen Group from Jersey City, opposed to the nomination.
Hi. Thank you so much for taking my testimony today. My name is Lydia Radin. I regret that I'm here alone, but the group of citizens and Senator Brian Stack, you know us because Patricia Waiters and I had a meeting with you about some of the issues in Hudson County. Could I just ask how much time you're going to give me today so I can gauge my... Are you going to limit my remarks to like 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, or?
I'm going to limit your remarks, but I'm not going to set the time limit just yet. Okay? Let's hear what you have to say, and if it goes on and on, then I'm going to have to stop you.
Okay.
Tell us what you'd like us to know about the nomination.
What I'd like you to know is that Mr. Ed DeFazio does not deserve to be a judge. Because Mr. Ed DeFazio has been helping my medical school, the Albert Einstein College of Medicine of Yeshiva University, steal money from me in a federal student loan program since 2005. He's been helping my medical school, the Albert Einstein College of Medicine of Yeshiva University, steal money from a federal Pell Grant program since 2005.
One second, ma'am. Senator.
I believe the witness is out of order in making the allegations that she's making. And she certainly can submit those documents, but let's make it certain that and be clear that those allegations are just her allegations and not any assertion of fact.
Okay, one second. All right, thank you, Senator. I'm going to allow the witness to tell us briefly what it is that her allegations are. They are, as always, just the allegations of one individual. The Senate can just listen. If they have any questions about it, I'll allow questions, and then we'll hear the remaining. So go ahead, ma'am.
Do you want to turn this on? Okay. They're not allegations, and actually, because the members of my group, we're a group of citizens in Jersey City that loosely call ourselves the Jersey Reformers, because it's not about party affiliation or labels, it's about trying to do the right thing. We only found out about Mr. DeFazio's nomination late yesterday, so they couldn't be here, but they would like the opportunity to also come forward and give testimony, and you should hear from the citizens. These are not allegations. I actually brought you hard facts. What you have here is a subpoena that was made in July of 2009 for my educational records from my medical school. What I discovered was that from February of 2009, at least, the Jersey City Municipal Prosecutor's Office had my educational records in his hands. And those educational records showed that I was telling the truth. My medical school lied about me. For example, and this is irrefutable, in 2006, an Orthodox Jewish woman from my medical school called me and asked if I would be a witness against the school. My school paid an attorney John Scarfone to go into federal court and lie about me in 2006. In February of 2009, the Jersey City Municipal Prosecutor had in his hands my educational records that showed the school lied 3 years before in 2006. In February of 2009 at least, but probably before, had the Jersey City Municipal Prosecutor put my educational records in my hands as he was obligated to do, I never would have been subjected to malicious prosecution in Manhattan in June and July of 2009. So the Jersey City Municipal Prosecutor has committed the very serious crime of obstruction of justice. Mr. DeFazio knows about this because I go to the Jersey City Council meetings and put the facts on the record. This is a letter that I wrote to my school in September of 1997. This is proof of mailing. This shows that I was asking for my educational records before I became a former student. So when I was compelled to sue my school in 2004, 2005, 2006 to get my hands on my records, to correct my financial records, my educational records, my medical records that have been intentionally falsified, the federal judge involved fabricated, wholesale made up a ruling that said that I, as a former student, I'm not done, but I'm almost done making this point.
Second, ma'am. 1 second, ma'am. Yes, Senator.
Again, we now have a charge against the sitting federal judge by this witness. I would suggest that she wrap up and we move on.
Okay. Thank you, Senator. Ma'am, why don't you conclude with the remaining issues you want us to know about?
Okay. The federal judge involved fabricated a ruling that said I, as a former student, could point to no school policy that would allow me to correct my records. I asked for my records before I became a former student, and this is the irrefutable evidence in your hands. So in response to this subpoena, 8 months later, I submitted this in court. This school, with the help of Mr. DeFazio and a whole bunch of other people, obstructed justice. Mr. DeFazio and Debbie Simon and Tracy McQuaid at the Hudson County Prosecutor's Office could have put a stop to the harm towards me. I was physically assaulted and almost murdered at Jersey City Medical Center because Mr. DeFazio refuses to act.
Mr.
Debbie,
Chairman.
this is not allegations. I've got Debbie Simon on an audio tape conversation that I had to put up on the internet to protect my life. Debbie Simon told me that she would do an investigation, but she wanted to request my medical records from Jersey City Medical Center first. I have Bryna Kaiser.
Ma'am, let's finish up what you'd like us. Ma'am, tell us what else you'd like us to know about Mr. DeFazio's. Debbie Simon is not here today. I know she's an underling of. I'm understanding that, ma'am. I'm trying to give you some latitude, but, ma'am, finish what you'd like us to know before I call you out of order, okay? Just finish up. Tell us, is there anything else you'd like us to know about?
Well, what I'd like to do is give the other members of my group the opportunity to come and testify. And what I'd like to do is show you even more irrefutable evidence, because Mr. DeFazio is not a prosecutor. In my case, Mr. DeFazio is a co-conspirator. And before you make...
Ma'am, I have that information. Those documents have been provided to the members of the committee, which they have on their desks, and I am assuming and I'm assuring you that they have reviewed and they're taking that into consideration. Okay? Thank you for that. There's not going to be any more testimony from anyone else other than you today that's signed up. Today is the hearing. I appreciate you being here today. I've listened intently to the remarks that you've made, and I'm sure that the senators have, and they'll take that into account when they make their decision. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for being here today. Okay. Seeing no other sign-ups, I'll call Mr. DeFazio back forward. Thank you, Mr. DeFazio. Any questions for the nominee based on that testimony or anything else?
Does the nominee care to respond to...
Do you want to respond to any of that, Mr. DeFazio?
I would just like to, if I...
That's a question.
I think that we should move on with either the vote up or down.
I'll entertain a motion then. Moved by Senator Stack.
I'll second.
Second by Senator Gill. Roll call.
Senator O'Toole. Yes.
Okay. So, did you
I got it all.
Okay, good. So what you got there is, I didn't just show up. I'm going to show the website too. If you want to listen to it, if you want to see the video, let me go back to this. This is probably Ben, the superfan, who's going to be so insulted that I'm not picking up. Hold on. Hello? Hello?
Every time I watch that thing, it gets better and better.
Yeah, this is Ben, my superfan.
Right.
What did you say?
That gets better and better every time I watch that thing.
But here's the thing. What's important
You know, I
is...
got to tell Bill, don't stand close to her when you're standing on the street corner. You're going to get hit by the blowback, I'm telling you.
Yeah, thank you for that.
That is really, I'm telling you, I mean, here's the guy, it's like he's going on to his wedding dressed in a white suit, and you come by in a car and hit that mud and get it on.
Ben,
I mean, it's really, I mean, that is really...
Ben, the
wow.
superfan is...
I got to, honestly, if I was him, judge or no judge, I think I would have jumped over to the table at that point.
Well, that's why I went to a law enforcement agency and said I want protection for Mr.
That stuff
Edefon.
is powerful
Wait,
stuff.
Wait till you see before. Wait till you wait.
Man, oh man!
Wait.
I hope Bill really understands.
Wait till you see.
What was going on over there?
I took video before I testified, and I got there early, and I get
$100,000 to do what you did that day, to say that to the judge.
Let me tell you something.
In court, I wouldn't do it.
I showed up early. I gave every single member of that committee irrefutable documentary evidence that shows that I asked for my records before I became a former student. Now, this is New Jersey. They should be on the phone.
Yeah, I understand all of that, but the point was that really, it wasn't really going to affect his judgeship.
Yes, it will.
It was just there to throw mud on.
No, I wasn't there to throw mud. It will. I told the committee. I only found out about this, and the members of my group only found out about this late in the afternoon the day before. And I asked them, if you listen to this, and if you go to the website and look at the Jersey Journal website, when I went and asked for.
And look at the other pictures on that site. Right above your video, there's the third picture, him praying. If you look at that little...
No, if you go to this, website corner, right here...
At the bottom left corner of your picture, if you scroll down a little, you'll see that picture of him praying.